what Jim Collins did with the hedgehog concept is he actually extrapolated the concept to like 3 important like parameters, right? As you rightly said about your strengths and stuff like that. What he said was, what are you deeply passionate about? Is one sphere. What you can be the best in the world at. This is a very important sphere. It is different from strengths. Right? What you can be the best and what drives your economic engine. Are you getting it? And in the center, you have something called BHAG. What is BHAG? Any guesses? Box. Big, hairy, audacious goals. This is your BHAG. Big, hairy, audacious goals. This is the intersection of all these 3. Look at the star. Can you read the star? Ramachandra. The star says includes your core values and purpose. The purpose is like very important. Stanley. The question that includes your core values and purpose. Okay. So if you go deeper into this like Venn diagram, and you say what you can be the best in the world at. This is a very simple thing, but the key element in this is you also need to identify what you cannot be the best in the world at. When you are determining what you can be the best in the world at, you should also determine what you cannot be the best in the world at. Right? The hedgehog notion is not to like achieve the reputation of a shrewd animal or a higher IQ animal or like whatever it is. Its notion is I am good at certain things. Let me do that very well. Right? The idea is not just core competence or focus. The idea is a deep understanding of yourself, right? It is not about focusing on one task and like telling it or like doing something and just doing it. The idea is it is a deep understanding of yourself and an understanding of the purpose of like what you are doing. Is that clear? Any questions on this? Clear? What drives your economic engine? This is very important because we all live in a capitalistic world. We need to know what is it that can keep me, keep me happy. You need money. All of us need money. I'm not saying you should, if somebody would have asked me the question when I said financial capital always should follow intellectual capital, then you don't forget about financial capital. No, that's not the point. The point is, what is your single most denominator? What is it that you need, right, for you to sustain and for you to be happy, right? If you are able to achieve that number and that metric, you can pretty much pursue what you want to pursue. Keeping that in mind, right? I'll go back, don't worry, don't feel lost. I'll come back again. What are you deeply passionate about? Right? What passion is something like very different. It's been like defined and documented in many textbooks. I want to just give you a story about Steve Jobs. Have you heard about Steve Jobs? All? How many of you don't know Steve Jobs? Good. So Steve Jobs is like the #1 powerful guy in the technology industry today. He's the #1 guy. He's better than Bill Gates. He's better than Larry Ellison. He's better than anybody that you see in the technology space. Why? Steve Jobs was in Stanford at a point in time, and he actually failed in Stanford. He was asked, to not to attend classes, and He had a lot of free time at that time. And he took up something called calligraphy. Know what is calligraphy?
Yeah.
Can you explain?
Decorative writing. Japanese.
It's basically a form of writing which will look very beautiful and aesthetic. Right? He took up calligraphy not because, to answer your question, Uma, he took up calligraphy not because he thought that calligraphy is going to give him money, or like calligraphy is going to make him successful. He took up calligraphy because he loved calligraphy and he liked what he did. So during his free time at Stanford, he just learned calligraphy completely. And that actually became a big deal when he started Pixar. Do you know what Pixar is? Pixar is the world's most successful animation studio. Have you heard the movies called Toy Story, Finding Nemo and all those things? You know, it took 4 years to make Finding Nemo. Finding Nemo is the most successful animation film in the world. Right? So, for him to do Pixar or the next or any other venture, he was the guy who created the user guide for our operating systems, Windows as well as Mac. It was Steve Jobs' idea to create the user guide. So because of his passion towards calligraphy, he could actually become successful in most of the ventures that he did, and he could be successful in iPod. iPod is a beautifully designed product from a design perspective. Before iPod came in, nobody thought of any successor to Walkman. Are you able to understand the importance? Nobody ever thought that the Walkman could get a product. Nobody ever thought everybody downloaded music, MP3, no products, and everybody listened to it either in the MP3 Walkman or in the computer with the headphone. Nobody thought about a cool, well-designed product like the iPod. iPod is a brilliant, creative genius product. Now, what is the key, ingredient for iPod is basically Steve Jobs liking or passion towards creating something beautiful or making sure the design is good. The design element is good. He was always interested in design. That actually led him to become much more powerful. He was fired from Apple. How many of you knew that? He was fired from Apple as the CEO. He was removed from the board. Then he came back to become the CEO of Apple again. And now today it is much more than Apple. Apple has got a 6% market share today in the operating systems. They have got a 100% share in all other things. Literally 100%. And today he has impacted computer industry, he has impacted consumer industry, he has impacted digital industry, he has impacted movie industry, which is the animation thing, and he has impacted one more industry, which is the media. 5 industries he has a superior impact upon one guy because he found his passion. Not because he thought during his Stanford days that he could do something to just do an MBA. So that is what passion is all about. If you are able to find that out, great. You are done. But it's tough to find that out. Okay, this is on leadership. Now, after having an idea of these 3 things, if you look at these circles, now let me explain this in a different way. So if you extrapolate this head job concept for a company like GE, the company that I last worked for, what was GE's head job concept? So the idea is, if you take a company, you need to actually break down into one single most defining idea for the company. Like a head job. What was the single most idea for a head job? I need to come out, protect myself and have my food. That's it. That is the single most idea in a day for it. So what is the head job concept for an organization like GE? Can anybody take a guess?